And it's getting colder, apparently. We're in for the coldest blast in 4 years, according to the papers today. So, a good time to have a booklet landing at the house that will help us to hopefully reduce our use. This is our use of energy and to stay warm and well. It's being delivered to every house in Donegal, and it contains practical information on how to reduce our use of energy where safe and possible, and it outlines the supports as well that's available to stay warm and well. Professor Aoife Foley is an expert in energy systems and has produced this together with a research team at Queen's University in Belfast, and Aoife joins us now. Aoife, this is timely.
Well, I suppose it is, but that's why I was thinking ahead. As they say, I'm not up in Queens for
you
nothing.
You could see this ahead. Coming. Yeah, sure.
I could see it coming.
Yeah. This is developed by the Department of the Environment, and it outlines, one of the great things I found about it is that it outlines some of the appliances in the house that use the most energy, and it also tells us exactly how much our oil central heating costs.
Mm-hmm. It does. I put it together with my team up above in Belfast, and we've been working on it, and we were approached by the Department of Energy in Dublin and Climate Change, and we were also approached by SEAI, and they asked us could they use some of our information and the graphics that we put together. So what they did then was they used our work to formulate the document.
Well,
so it was great.
It stands out very clearly just how heating is the single biggest energy user in our homes. And, especially at a time like this, we're going to need it. And the last thing anybody wants to hear is about turning off the heat. So are there any ways that we can save energy there?
There is. I tell you now, at the moment, looking at, even with your, I know now, the most of Donegal would be on kerosene oil central heating, and you'd have people they'd have their own bottle gas. But in terms of oil and even your own bottle gas, the same principles apply. So for every 1 degree you come down, you reduce your energy consumption for heating by about 10%. But in tandem, what you need to do is you need to think about your own comfort levels. So if you're an elderly person and you're in a room and you spend most of your time in your TV room in your kitchen, and turn up the radiators there, 19, 20, 21 degrees Celsius in those rooms would be very comfortable for the day. Any rooms that you're not using around the rest of the house, turn off the rads or turn down the temperature. So 19 degrees where you're going sleeping at night, if you want to heat it up for a few hours before you get into bed, or an hour or two, that's the kind of temperature we're talking about. Because when you go into bed, obviously you're keeping yourself warm, so actually you don't need to have the temperature dial set up high. The next thing you need to do is, when you turn on your heating, leave it on for about an hour, go around and feel all the radiators, and if there's any cold spots, you can get a radiator bleed key. It's something that anybody could do. I myself do it once a year. It's a little key. You get them in the Co-op or in Woodies or one of those places. Yeah. They're about €5. It's a 5 mil square little sort of an Allen key, nearly almost, and if you go up and just slightly open it where you felt a cold spot, leave on that radiator, it's normally on the left hand side, the valve will be on the right to regulate the temperature, and you just leave it open. You'll hear the air hiss out, like leaving the air out of a tyre.
Yes.
And just gently close it. Don't ratchet it open, because actually it can be quite hard to get it back in, so just gently do it, and when a little bit of dark water comes out, then close it. And you've actually bred the radiator, you've released the air, there's an airlock in the radiator somewhere, and you've released that, and actually that will improve your boiler balancing then around your pipe system at home. So that's another thing you can do.
And that's done when is that done when the system's on?
It is. You do it when the system is on, not when it's off, because what it is the pressure builds up in the system, and it'll release it, then it'll force out the air. It won't work at all when you have the radiator off. The other thing you should do as well is, if you have an old heating system, get it serviced. And another thing you could do is you could speak to your plumber. Don't do it now during the winter, but you could speak to your plumber about maybe in the spring coming and desludging your network. So your pipe system. So what happens is you get a bit of mineralisation in the internal pipe from the heat from the water, and in the radiators, and a bit of sludge will build up. It's sort of black, dirty matter. And in the spring or in the summer, what you could do is you could get them to flush out the system for you. And actually, your heating, I got it done there last year. My boiler, I actually changed my boiler. I had an Ideal boiler, it was at the end of its legs, and I changed it. It packed up a few times. Actually, it was really chugging along, and I said to the plumber, I said, would you sludge the system for me? And it did, and it's after making a huge difference now to my heating, and I can see my prices have gone down. But other things people could do is they could make sure that if they've a cracked pane, a glass or something like that, and they can't afford to get it changed, get a bit of old sellotape or a bit of masking tape or a bit of plumber's tape and just seal the window.
Right.
If you get I know now people will laugh, it's a simple thing. You see, what you're trying to do is you're trying to block the draft. Now obviously you need to have a certain amount of air circulating in your home for your well-being, and and for carbon monoxide if there's any issues or anything like that. So you need to have some air circulating, and it's better for your health as well. But another thing you could do is to reduce your bills is, like, I wouldn't be a big advocate now of using the tumble dryer, but I know in certain locations people depend heavily on the tumble dryer. They live in apartment blocks, or they're living in a smaller home, and they don't have any place to hang out their clothes. But what you could do is you could put on another spin on your washing machine, get out as much water as possible, and then if you've a bathroom in the house that you're not using, or you have a shed, a little small shed, put the clothes in the clothes horse, and leave the window open a little bit, so you're leaving any mildewy smell out, because you don't want that. That's bad for you. And there's a few other things you could do as well. Your hot water tank, if you're a one person or there's only two people in your home, then you don't need to have heating up the full tank. So just check how many litres have you got in your full tank, and have you, in the olden days it used to be sink and bath. You may only need to have it on sink if you're only having a shower maybe every second day. Some people now have themselves washed away. It depends on your age. So, everybody needs to think about their own circumstances. For Christmas now, coming up to Christmas, what I'd say to people as well, if you've elderly relations or you've unwell friends, think about buying them a thermal vest or a nice fleece blanket or an electric blanket or a draft excluder for their door, or one of those new energy efficient kettles. There's a whole load of things you can do to reduce your energy consumption. And if you bring your energy consumption down by about 10%, you could save up to €700 over the year.
Right, that's a lot.
And people, that's a lot of money. And, I'd say to people as well, if you have an electric shower, get an eco shower head. It's quite easy to change the shower head. Over the year, actually, you could save up to about 130 odd euros. If you put on they cost about €11. You can obviously get fancy pants ones as well for about €40, but go with the cheaper one will do you the same job. If you have your water tank as well in your hot press, make sure there's a lagging jacket around it. It costs you about €20. And don't forget to check out the SEAI page in relation to loft insulation and insulating your home. They have other things there as well, and there's other bits and pieces that you can get from SEAI to help you be more energy efficient in your home. You get timer plugs. Don't go around switching off all your lighting, please. If you're elderly at home, and even older, younger people, if you've new modern light bulbs, energy efficient light bulbs, they're very efficient. The LED ones, for example, now you could have one of those lights on for 7 hours. It's only 10 cents, so we don't want anybody tripping or falling and breaking their hip or breaking a leg, or an arm there before Christmas. So they're the sort of things you can do. The tumble dryer is about €1.85 to €1, depending on your tariff. So just watch that, guys. Another thing is you could get an electric heater. So if you're in one room, the television room, and you don't have a chimney, or you're finding that bags of coal are getting a little bit expensive and it's harder to put on and it's more work, what you could do is, or even wood, you could get an oil-filled little electric storage heater there for about maybe €40-50. Right. And actually, they're made by there's a few models there by Glen Dimplex, and sure, you're buying Irish then,
Okay.
So
are they not
think of all those things.
Are they not a wee bit storing energy too?
Well, I tell you what, the thing, if you get the convention, there's about 3 different types. Okay, so there's a ceramic electric storage heater or electric heater. There's a convective one where basically it's a little plate, and they can be expensive because anything where you're generating a lot of heat, okay, the convector radiator one, they generate a lot of heat. So anything that's a lot of heat will be expensive. Those ones, I know the ones you're talking about. The one I'm actually talking about is an oil-filled one. And what happens is the oil builds up a critical mass of heat in it, and it's slow. So it's quite efficient in comparison to the other ones. I know the ones you're talking about now. You know, the electric stove one where it looks like a flame.
Yes.
They can be quite energy intensive as well. But the little one I'm talking about now, it comes with a little thermostat and a timer on it. I actually bought one for my parents below in Cork in their house, and they use it. And actually what it does in the morning, if it's cold for them at all, it just gives the place a little bit of a boost. And it's not as expensive while you're waiting for the heating to put on as well as that. Now, elderly people setting the fire, it's much more work, you know, than it was previously, you know, as you get older.
And Aoife, maybe you can answer me this, because here in Donegal, well, it's mostly oil central heating. The lucky ones might have an air-to-water system. But when it comes to an oil central heating system, are we better to turn the thermostat down a degree or two and leave it on for longer, or should we still be, you know, turning it on and off and on and off? Which is more efficient?
I tell you what now, lads, don't be switching it on and off at all now, okay?
Don't, right.
Because once you start switching it on and off, what you're trying to do is you're trying to get it up. So if you set it at, say, 20 odd or 19 degrees Celsius, it's going to burn more fuel in the actual boiler to get you up to your 19. Once it gets up to the 19 and you've thermostats around the house, it'll use less. Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay. So it's nice and steady. Slow and steady wins the race.
Good on you.
So, you know,
right,
you know what I mean?
That's at least one good takeaway from that, Aoife. Thanks a million. All right,
exactly.
Those booklets are going to be arriving, if they haven't already done so, in every house. They're called Reduce Your Use, Stay Warm and Well. Thanks, Aoife.
No worries.
All right.
Come here, can I do one thing?
You can.
Can I say hello to John Doran above? He's retired from Letterkenny Institute of Technology. They have a new name now.
ATU now.
ATU, exactly. I want to say hello to all the colleagues up there that we work with above in Donegal, and I want to say hello to some of the lads as well that I know in Donegal County Council, just to say hello to them as well. So keep well and look, stay safe and keep warm this winter.
No bother. Happy Christmas, Eva. Bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye. Bye.
It's not just that Sarah can't rely on the rains to come this year. It's not just that the only water left could cost her life. It's not just that she has seen all her crops destroyed and she is struggling to feed her little boy.